few days here to look over everything. You kind of went over all the film. What did you see?
Well, first off, I thought our defensive effort was really good. I thought our defensive guys played really well. It was kind of what we thought. Our back end, our secondary, and our back seven is a really experienced group and played really heady. I thought they did a good job. I thought our defensive line, I thought Lapeer and Solomon Purdue played really well. We saw some good faces with Dalen stepping up and getting in there and competing a little bit, and some new guys, with Ty Walker and some of those guys coming off the edge and some different guys playing. So it was a little different, but we never stretched them enough offensively to get them out of their game plan. If we could have got them where they were throwing the ball, when we made it an 18-10 ball game, they had to throw the ball a little bit. You could really see our athleticism in the back end really start to take over, and that was one. I think the other thing, and we talked to the team about it the other day, we were 6 of 7 on third downs in the first quarter, and then we were 0 for 8 from the third all the way till the end of the game. And so you got to find a way to stay on the field. We can't drop balls and be shaky out there on the perimeter. We got to do a little bit better job, and we really got with the receivers yesterday and out at practice a little bit and talked to them about that, making sure you got to finish the plays when they're there. We talked about that free throw analogy. Everybody's mad at the guy that misses that free throw at the end of the basketball game, but there's probably another 20 missed in the first half that if somebody makes 2 or 3 of those, you're winning the game. And so you got to make the catches when you got the opportunity to. And so I think that's it. It was kind of what I thought going in, though. You look at our offensive unit, I think eight guys out of the 11 were their first start,
right.
And so a couple of them hadn't played a game in 2 seasons. Some of them hadn't played since, November of their senior year of high school. So it was kind of I knew it was going to be a learning experience for some of them. Some of them I didn't realize it was going to be that much just in the contact of the game with some poor ball security and some things like that we got to get fixed in the next couple of days.
Kickoff team, too. Is that
kickoff cover team, we gave up way too many yards. They were playing on a short field all night. They were on a 50-yard field the whole night. That's great for their offense, bad for our defense and field position. We weren't winning that battle any sense.
What about the running attack? Put an emphasis on it in the offseason and didn't quite, only about what?
Well, I don't know if we really put an emphasis on it. I mean, it was kind of what we thought going into the game by what they were going to play defensively. They were going to play a 6- and 7-man box and kind of load it up. And we knew we were going to see a lot of one high. So we knew going into the game we were going to have to throw the ball to win. But you got to catch it to do it too, and you got to get them out of that little flex defense that they were running and get them out of that front. And so the run game will happen. It'll happen just by the natural, occurrence of the way the receivers play also.
Pueblo's coming off a loss. Were you surprised by that? The score, maybe?
A little bit by the score, not with what Mines has coming back. They got a really good quarterback that played really well, and their offensive line's a really good unit up there at Mines right now. So it kind of figured it would be a closer game. And also, it's tough when you start with a conference game. You're starting with the conference game right out the box. I mean, it's a big deal. So Mines is, they had all year to prepare for that game, and they were going to be amped up because they knew that was going to give them a big jump in the standings in their league. And so a little surprised with that. Was a little surprised just offensively for CSU Pueblo. I think, just looking at the stats and watching the video, they started having to throw the ball a lot more than what they wanted to, and they got away from some of the things that they're really good at. And so we know going back in, Riston's going to have those guys playing really downhill on offense and control the tempo of the clock, and then defensively, don't give up any big plays and keep everything in front of them, and that's just their style, and they're great tacklers, and they're going to be a physical group.
What's the approach for containing that running back they got, McDonald?
Well, I think the big thing is just to emphasize it all week, being good tacklers, have good fits, and just make sure we're in good gap control. You got to take away the run game on them. They can't be a balanced, where they're a 50-50 type team. Once they do that and they can get the play action game going, then their success rate's really high. So we're going to just load the box and get after them.
Is it kind of the same scheme you did last year against them? That seemed to work.
Yeah.
Especially with your safety.
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, a lot of it will be a lot the same, for the most part.
9 days in between games, how can you use that extra time?
Well, I think the 9 days in between games is really good for our kids, just coming off a hard training camp, because we're still kind of in a preseason schedule for these guys for some of them. And so we're getting some guys back that were a little nicked up from 2 days. And so they should be really fresh and ready to go by Saturday.
In that Mines Pueblo game, I think Mines outscored them 36-0 in the second quarter.
Yep.
As an opposing coach, when you see that, do you take anything away from that? I mean, does that jump up? I mean, does that jump out to you? Do you?
No, not really. Well, a little bit, just in the standpoint, but they were more snake bit than anything else. I mean, it was just kind of some unlucky breaks for CSU Pueblo more than anything. And Mines got hot. I mean, their quarterback was making throws and running around all over the place. They'd have him hemmed up, and he'd chunk the ball down there, and a guy would jump up and make a diving catch and the whole thing. And so And then they had a big rain delay and all that stuff in there, and so I mean it's 18 to 22-year-olds. Once something goes wrong, I mean you're kind of at a crazy will to try to bring them back into form. And so I think that was kind of part of the hard part for them.
What did you see out of Brinkley you liked last week that maybe he can continue on this week?
Well, early I liked the way he was trying to push the ball downfield. He had his eyes downfield. He was trying to get the ball vertical a little bit more. We got to do a little bit more of that. We didn't throw the ball vertical near enough, but part of that's not on Ethan. That's mostly on me. I got to stretch it and let them go when they need to go. But did some good checks at the line of scrimmage. Got us in some really good checks in the early part of the game on some second and third downs to help with some plays. And so Ethan just needs some guys to step up around him and make some plays for him and help him out on that end also. So to build some confidence, and then I got to do a better job of giving some plays that he can really excel at.
We knew coming into the season that this opening stretch, these first 3 games all on the road would be tough. What's the point of emphasis for your guys right now after losing the first one and having a really tough game in Colorado Springs?
Well, I don't know if it really changes. In college football, it's a 1-week season every week. I mean, you look at LSU, look at Oklahoma, look at everybody this week. We all play 1-week seasons. I mean, and that's just what it is. And every week it adds up and it starts to build. I mean, so it's not any different. I tell the guys that all the time. You can be upset or you can be really happy on Sunday after a win, and you can be upset for 24 hours, and then after that it's over, because really that last game means absolutely nothing, because we could have won by 50, go out and get beat this weekend, and it meant nothing for you. And so just rally back up and go play. That's the biggest thing, because it's always a 1-week season in college football.